Hello everyone and welcome to my visual. I decided to do a video instead of something else because I thought a video might be a bit more fun to watch. So this is a video for my EDU 7100 class, which is curriculum theory and design, and it focuses in on different philosophies of education. It focuses in on different theory and theorists, some of the history behind things that we do with education, but it's just in different models. So it pulls all these things together so we kind of understand why people are doing what they're doing. And then it also helps you understand how to make the best decisions when you're actually going about evaluating curriculum. One thing before I continue moving, my computer is down here, so I'm going to look down at some point in time because all of my notes are down here. So if I'm looking down, you understand why I'm looking down. And if you would like to know more information about my school, you can find it in my Blackboard post. However, because I know this is on the interwebs, I decided that I was not going to just do a full run on this video. But again, you can check out my post on Blackboard if you really wanted to see that information. So I'm going to go ahead and move into my big five, just talk about what I talked about in my paper. Okay, so school philosophy and ideology. So this particular school is very unique because it is a space that, although it still has to focus in on what we identify as just your core classes, you know, English, science, math, etc. There's still a very big push on creating differentiated learning plans. So really meeting students where they are and pushing them from there so that you can really see student growth. You can really help them become critical thinkers and really help them learn to advocate for themselves. So when I had to think about the different philosophies that I was going to cover, they kind of seem contradictory. However, based on the philosophy of the school, those were things that fit. So the philosophies that I did cover are pragmatism, existentialism, perennialism, and the theory of progressivism. And again, I know that you may look at these and say, wow, these are kind of contradictory. However, based on the needs of the school and the mission vision of the school, yes, we still have to cover those basics. And I'll do air quotes for that, basics. But within those basics, how are we going to really, what is our wiggle room? How are we going to really give kids what we feel that they need to be successful so that they can grow and that they can be successful both in this building and outside of this building? Okay, so when talking about my curriculum theory, I decided to choose three particular models. So they are the Bobbitt and Charters model, backwards design model, and the deliberation model. And the reason that I chose these particular models is that they allow wiggle room. So there was still going to be a space where there were, objectives that were determined, but it allows for the teachers to really reach consensus about what should be taught and how it should be taught. So yes, there will be objectives based on Common Core standards, and there is content that's provided, but the teachers really get to look at the content, determine what is going to help them teach. What are they going to use to teach particular skills? Do they need to add additional things, or will they be able to use everything else? But that was the best way to get everyone involved so that everyone was really trying to work on creating those individualized plans for those students. So when talking about the design model, this school is unique in that it allows for teacher time and independent time. So not just within a 50-minute class, kids have the last 10 minutes to work on their own assignments. It is worked into the schedule so that there's specific time where teachers are teaching, and then there are specific chunks of time where students are really working independently, working on their own tasks at their own pace, and getting assistance as they need assistance. So when I had to think of the different models, I had to think of models that would really support students when they're working independently, so that time was extremely powerful for them. So I chose the inquiry training model, the non-directive teaching model, and group investigation. Because inquiry training really puts the students in a position where they have to problem solve and come up with hypotheses on their own, as opposed to using their teacher as a default, which is something that tends to happen. If I don't know something, the teacher knows the answer, but sometimes you need to figure out the answer on your own. And as an adult, or if you're working, when you're working in general, you do have have to problem solve on your own. So it helps them to do that. I also chose a non-directive teaching model because it really puts students in a position where they can advocate for themselves, which is something that's extremely important when you're thinking about students being independent and working in different settings. And then the group investigation model, I chose that because it puts students in a position where they have to learn those social skills they need to work with different individuals so that they can really solve problems or just complete tasks. Now, the curriculum organization. So I divided these into steps, and again, I combined all these different models to come up with these steps, so it's a hybrid of all of these things. So step 1, everyone would review skills maps. Step 2, they would review content. Step 3, there will be a consensus reached about which content needs to be used for which skills. Step 4, objectives will be created. And then step 5, we would have to determine how we would evaluate the curriculum. So again, the major components will still be there. There will still be objectives written. There will still be skills that will be covered. The content will be identified. The assessments will be identified because it falls under how it's being evaluated. But those are the steps that will be followed to identify those key components that will be in the curriculum. Okay, and the final step is evaluation. So our good friend Tyler, he pointed out that all curricula has to be evaluated. And there are 2 steps at minimum you need to do, but then 3 if you are really doing a great job at it. So you need to make sure you are doing some sort of evaluation before everything begins, something after it begins, and then if you're really diligent about it, you're doing a follow-up after. So that's like when you graduate from high school and then they follow up with you in college to see how you're doing. So these are the things that I decided to do when evaluating the curriculum. I decided I was going to use multiple evaluation tools, and they are as follows. Entrance, interviews, and diagnostics. And then in the middle, quizzes, survey/questionnaires. And then in the end, there will be a summative exam, a portfolio project, and an exit interview. Now, I decided to do to combine interviews as well as exams because I felt that you would need the exams to just evaluate basic things like content knowledge, skills, but there are also different aspects of things such as the social aspect that you can only really get through gathering data through things like interviews. And I also decided to do things within the middle just to check progress so that I could see how things flow throughout the actual curriculum. And then at the end, it came full circle again. Again, there needed to be some sort of an exam so that I understood whether or not students really understood the content, if they really understood the skills. Then I also incorporated a portfolio project because at this point the students should really be working together. And one of the big things in this curriculum is making sure that that social aspect is met so that students know how to work together and problem solve. So I did add a portfolio. I also added an exit interview because, again, when you're trying to gather that data to just see how everything went as far as the social aspect goes, it's better to gather that data via interviews. And I just felt like this would be the best way to see if things were working, if we had to go back and change things, or just we can move forward with things, or however those things would turn out. So for my conclusion, I really just want to talk about what I learned. And what I learned was that you can't use one method to do everything because we're all different. People have different philosophies. They believe different things. Things will be dictated to us that we have to do that we don't necessarily think works best. So we really have to figure out how to, as I put it, how to make a triangle fit into a square peg. And you won't necessarily be able to make it fit perfectly, but it is just our job as educators to figure out how can we make things fit. Because like I said, some things are going to be dictated. You know, you can't necessarily control what a district tells you to do or what the government is telling you to do. However, you still do have some sort of control, and you have to really understand the different aspects of curriculum to understand how to make those things fit. So thanks so much for tuning into this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can just ask those questions to me on Blackboard, or you can email them to me, or you can leave a comment to this video, and I'll respond to that comment as well. Thanks so much. It was really great working with you guys for this class. I look forward to seeing you in the next class, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.